Prompting. One big thing we have to think about is the roles. The roles people take in ChatGPT and AI are really important as you do it. As we think about the roles we're using, we have to think about how we come across. So many times we're trying to get other people's perspectives in understanding how to write something, how to read it. ChatGPT gives us that ability to look and see from other people's perspectives and also hear their voice as they would frame it or they would put it in. And as you think about it, the more we do this, the better we're going to be able to understand how people respond. There's a fun way that people have done this. They've liked to play with Shakespeare and say, write in the way of Shakespeare will write or something else, which is good, but it's not really giving that whole perspective of how we can use it in business or in the workplace as we start to think about it. And we have to think about this more and more as we do it. There are so many roles and specific roles we need to consider as we figure that out. One of those ways is one of my friends likes to always put ChatGPT in as a doctor, and he wants to write things as a doctor because he wants to see their perspective on how to deal with medical things, how to deal with others, versus how a teacher would respond, which is more of a step-by-step approach, or a lawyer, and a lawyer may respond differently as it does it. Each way is going to respond differently as it figures it out. So as we start figuring out what works for us, we have to figure out how and why we're going to start recording and giving information in different ways. Sometimes you want to do it as a faculty member, sometimes you want to do it as a grandmother, or you want to explain it as a 10-year-old, so it's really understandable to anybody as it does it. Each way works, and it's just figuring out which is the best way that works for us as we do it and understanding how we can best use these different things in our perspective from roles and what we're trying to achieve. So I want to go over some examples to really give you a good idea of understanding how prompting with roles really matters and the difference it makes in figuring it out. In today's world, sometimes you want to give career advice, and let's say you wanted to give a career advice to your daughter who's a senior in college and about to go on in the work field. What advice would you give them if you were a faculty member who was teaching for 25 years? So we're going to take a piece of this prompt and we're going to put it into ChatGPT. So we're going to drop it in and we're going to see how ChatGPT responds in what it's saying to do. Now, as you think about it, ChatGPT is going to respond differently depending on it. So if you're doing it as a faculty member, the first thing it's going to say is explore passion. Don't rush into your career just because it's lucrative and secure. So that's really a good thought process as it's doing it because it's trying to give you the passion and ability. Always have continuous learning. So lifelong learning is an important mindset. We have to see that continually change. So we see technology change, we're seeing lifelong learning change. And you have to have those skills necessary to do it. The third one is network effectively. When you're building strong personal relationships, it really matters that you do that so you can develop a better network and understanding. I've seen this a lot where some people really work on LinkedIn and they build a nice network because it's a slow build in trying to understand it versus somebody who doesn't. Another important one is develop soft skills. I can't tell you how much important this is. I think I'm going to write a book just on soft skills, on those things that you didn't learn in college, and those things that we need to develop. Communication, teamwork, problem solving. Those are the important ones that really matter in us doing it and figuring it out. And we have to understand that. So the advice going from a faculty member to a young person is a really good one as it goes. Another one that's important that I think we need to think about here is technology skills. I think AI is another soft skill that needs to be developed, but in the technology world, we got to remember technology keeps changing. And we've seen this time and time again, where technology started off with, we basically, at the turn of the century, had cars that basically were running turn on and you had to crank to start. Then cars started to develop and you had big engines, loud, and they moved fast. and they were gas guzzlers. They basically used gas like it was no tomorrow. Then you ended up now where you have hybrid cars, and cars are changing. They can go longer distances and everything else. But now they integrated with our technology, our phones, and everything else with GPS. So you can see technology changes even in the car industry. But as we think about, the more changes that happen, the more this is going to be important for us to do. Another advice that they give is to take risks. So don't be afraid of calculated risks and step out of your comfort zone. Understanding that and be resilient will help you to get through any setbacks that come across. Also, it talks about seeking mentors and understanding that as it does it. And again, embracing technology, which is a great perspective as it does it. But the next thing we have to see is, what if you were a lawyer and your daughter was going to college? Would that change how you phrase it, your prompt? And I think it would. As we consider it, we'd have to think about that. So let me put, in case you're a lawyer, to see how a lawyer comes across. And what you see is already them starting to come up with different things. The first thing it's doing is specializing strategically, which is using your legal and specialization to align your interests with your goals. If you start doing that, you're able to specialize better, to have a better understanding of where you want to go in the industry. It brought up networking, and networking is really important, especially when you think about from a lawyer or a faculty perspective. Faculty need to network a whole bunch, but it didn't mention it, but it brought it up with the lawyer because lawyers work together because they specialize, and sometimes they have to give clients to each other as they do it. Another thing is practical experience. I can't tell you how much practical experience matters. And this is what I missed from the faculty perspective. They forgot that internships matter. Students who get internships are 50% more likely to get jobs within the first 25 to 30 days after they graduate, or even before they graduate, than the ones who don't. Because we forget that grades aren't the only thing that matters anymore. What matters now is building that strong relationship and understanding where career comes into effect and going from there. Also, develop and improve your writing skills. Writing skills are important, but if you notice here, it says legal practice offices involves extensive legal and research writing and analytics. So it's assuming you're going into the legal field. This is where I think ChatGPT really needs to work on, and you need to be conscious of, because it's saying not only are you giving advice as a lawyer, you're going to become a lawyer. And that's not really what we asked the question of, but it's really formatting it in that way. So as you think about it, you have to be understanding and conscious of what it's saying and how it comes back to figure it out. The other thing it's talking about here is embracing technology. As we talked about, that matters. But let me rehearse that point. Watching what ChatGPT does and not just taking it for granted will make you a stronger AI guru. And if you can be a stronger AI guru, you're going to know how to use it better. So many people are just going to take what it says and take it for granted. But if you're able to process it, get more details, and help put it all together, you're going to learn how to use ChatGPT and see things others can't see. So I'm glad this prompt came up and did it in the sense of framing it that you're going to become a lawyer versus not, because it helps you to think about that's not the question or the information I wanted as I did it. But let's try one more example. Let's say we're going to change this and now you're being a grandmother. Does a grandmother process it and change information any other way differently than a lawyer or a faculty member do? Because that matters as you do it. One thing they first do as a lawyer, it says let's, number one is specialize strategically in find something that aligns with your legal and career goals. Where if you look at it from a grandmother's perspective, it says follow your passion, pursue a career that aligns with your interest. Knowing that really matters as it looks at over time, because when you're looking at a grandmother's perspective, it's looking at it over a longer time period. The other is continuous learning. Having that always matters. We see that in all three answers. Building strong relationships and networking. Then it says take calculated risks. And if you notice, none of the others said that. So it's starting to figure out where calculated risks are as it does it. The other thing it says is maintain a healthy work-life balance, which is really important if you think about it from a longer perspective. Also, I've seen it in certain times change this into health. Use it to benefit your health, mindful of what you're eating, when you're working, how you sleep. So as you do it, the roles can give you different answers and different responses as you think about it. So the last thing I want to show you was how writing this can really matter. If we're trying to write a justification to our boss about convincing our supervisor that they should adopt ChatGPT as a standard for an AI platform, you're asking it to act as a CIO. How would they phrase this to really show buy-in? So I'm going to go back to ChatGPT. I'm going to click this icon to give me a new chat window. Then I'm going to place my prompt in. And what I'm doing is seeing what it comes up with. And what it comes up with is a proposal for adopting ChatGPT as a standard. It says I want to discuss the opportunity to benefit our company operation and enhance our abilities. I propose adopting ChatGPT as our standard AI platform. And it took my three areas and made it a little different. It said cost effective, targeted audience engagement, and a versatile plugin. By doing that, it really focused on those areas that a CIO would get perspective as it does it, which is making sure everybody's represented in doing it. And the last part is that I believe in adopting as a standard AI platform aligns with our strategic goals and enhancing customer experience and driving operational efficiency and staying competitive. So when you see this, it really changes it. But if I change it just to say, can you rewrite this as if you were a lawyer? Let's see if that will give it a different perspective. And immediately it did in the subject. It said legal considerations regarding the adoption of the platform. So now it's looking at from a legal perspective to see what goes on. And it says at the bottom of the first paragraph, each with legal implications to warrant careful consideration. So it's now looking at a little different because it's looking at the economic viability to understand if it's financially prudent to offer this to maximize shareholder value. Does it go with compliance to ensure that it's part of the compliance aspect of any company for data protection, industry standard, and internal policies, and ensure legal adherence to audience engagement, and safeguarding the company's reputation and avoiding potential liabilities. So this is where this is the power it comes from, because now it's been able to show you the legal aspect. So when you're starting to write emails, you may be able to come from different perspectives and really make a difference. You can do this with lots of different aspects of ChatGPT and any AI plugin. You can really get an idea of different varieties, and even as you put in more prompts, it will come up from different perspectives. Understanding this is only going to give you more value and help you be better at prompting the system for your success.